Krishna Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम हरे हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे राम हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे राम 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 हरे
Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
पंचाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नमाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। All glories to assembled devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. This is Bhagavati Vasudha Devi Dasi from Mangalore, India. Please forgive me for stopping all of you from ecstatic chanting. Now let us move on to the next part of the session. I would like to read the 10 offenses to the holy name which are to be avoided, given by Srila Vyasadeva in Padma Purana. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of the Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures and portions to the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination. 6. To give some interpretations to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, Karma Kanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. 10. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. So once again, I thank everyone for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Let us move on to the next session, which is Srimad Bhagavatam class. May I know who are joining the call today?
हरे कृष्ण भगवती वसुधा माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम। शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरु महाराज की जय, प्रीति दासी फ्रॉम शार्लोट। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna Priti Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada, this is Preeti Vilasini Devidasi from Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Preeti Vilasini Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devdasi from College Station, Texas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Mataji.
Mataji. Go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. This is Yashamati Priya Devidasi from Chicago.
Hare Krishna Yashamati Priya Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, O Voice Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaji. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidasi from Raleigh. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Krishna Kumari Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. All glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to Assembled Devotee. This is Mohini Lakshmi from Detroit.
Hare Krishna Mohini Lakshmi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. My humble obeisances to all the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. This is Sundarangi Radha Devidasi from Canada. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Sundarangi Radha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, my humble obeisances to you and all assembled devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Parampavani Shama Devidasi from Baltimore, Maryland. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Parampavani Shama Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Anitaranya from Sharjah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Anita Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Vrinda.
Hare Krishna Vrinda Gupika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Radha Pyari Devidasi from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna Radha Pyari Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna. Okay, Hare Krishna. I welcome all of you once again. Thank you everyone for joining today's Bhakti Sangha conference call Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are really fortunate to have His Grace Jayananda Gauranga Prabhu to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam 7.15.30. Before I hand over the call to Prabhuji, I would like to hand over the call to Sundarangi Radha Mataji for the brief introduction on His Grace Jayananda Gauranga Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity for the seva. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Here is a brief introduction about today's speaker. We are so fortunate to have His Grace Jayananda Gauranga Prabhu today as our speaker. Prabhuji is a disciple of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj. Prabhuji took to Krishna consciousness while at college in 1998. He did his undergraduate at Bates Pilani, doctoral degree at Texas A&M, and postdoctoral work at the University of Wisconsin Madison. He is a professor of obstetrics and gynecology in the United States. He has been chanting 16 rounds for over 27 years. Prabhuji is very well versed in Vedanta Sutra, Vedic scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he has read Chaitanya Charitamrita over 50 times. He has been doing edifications of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam for the Bhakti Vrikshas. He gives classes in ISKCON temples regularly. Here is a brief introduction about our today's speaker. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining the call. Mataji, over to you. Hare Krishna. Please explain.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for that brief introduction. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji, for coming on this Bhakti Sangha conference call, giving your time and association in this call. And today we are really fortunate to hear from you on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. So today's verse is 7.15.30. We are just done with the introduction, Prabhuji. You can start. Hare Krishna. We can't hear you, Prabhuji.
I haven't spoken anything, so
Okay.
you are able to hear me, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Yeah, you are able to see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
yes, Prabhuji.
So, thank you again for this opportunity, and thank you to Vinita Gandharvi Mataji for asking me to come here today. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtapraye Shwabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Sharaya Chakshurum Neelatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vashtaya Vitli Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracha Nirvishesha Shurya Pasha Panchakilpatrubhyascha Kripasindubhiyavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today the verse is Canto 7, Chapter 15, verse 30. Yes chitta vijaye yataha shyanihi sanko parigraha eko vivikta sharanho bhikshur bhakshya nitashanam. Yes chitta vijaye yataha shyanihi sanko parigraha eko vivikta sharanho bhikshur bhakshya nitashanam. Word-to-word translation. Here, one who, chitta vijaye, conquering the mind, yataha is engaged, shyat must be, nisangaha without contaminated association, aparigraha without being dependent on the family, ekaha alone, vivikta sharanaha taking shelter of a solitary place, bhikshuhu a renounced person, bhikshya by begging alms, just to maintain the body, mita ashanaha, mitashanaha, frugal in eating. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. One who desires to conquer the mind must leave the company of his family and live in a solitary place, free from contaminated association. To maintain the body and soul together, he should beg as much as he needs for the bare necessities of life. Purport. This is the process for conquering the agitation of the mind. one is recommended to take leave of his family and live alone, maintaining body and soul together by begging alms and eating only as much as needed to keep himself alive. Without such a process, one cannot conquer lusty desires. Sannyasa means accepting a life of begging, which makes one automatically very humble and meek and free from lusty desires. In this regard, the following verse appears in the Smriti literature. Dvandva hatasya garhastyam dhyana bhanghadi karanam lakshayitva grihispashtham sanyased avicharayan. In this world of duality, family life is the cause that spoils one's spiritual life or meditation. Specifically understanding this fact, one should accept the order of sannyasa without hesitation. So this verse is basically giving the basic qualities of a sannyasa or those in the renounced order of life. So the perfection of renunciation we can see in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. This is the famous invocation prayer, which exemplifies the various qualities that are actually mentioned in this verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This verse is the first prayer of Sri Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and it was a prayer dedicated to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shiksharthamekah Purushah Puranaka Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari Kripambudhir Yastamaham Prapadye. Vairagya, which means Vairagya means detachment. What kind of knowledge he's propagating, his embodiment of is the knowledge of detachment. Vairagya Vidya, and the devotional service unto himself, unto Krishna, Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yoga. And he has come to propagate this, Shiksharthamekah, to instruct one. And what is who is Chaitanya, and who is this person? The Supreme Person. He is the Purushaha Puranaha, the primeval person. And who is that? Sri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari, someone who has accepted who has come here as Sri Krishna Chaitanya in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Kripambudhir, he is the ocean of mercy. Unto whom? Yes, Tamaham Prapadya, unto whom he's surrendering. Okay, so this explains the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is the embodiment of all the different qualities that are actually mentioned in this particular verse. Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yoga, Shiksharthameka Purusha Puranaha, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari Kripambudhi Tamaham Prapadye. And he goes on further describing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kala Nashta Bhakti Yogam Nijam Yaha Pradushkartam Krishna Chaitanya Nama Avirbhutas Tasya Padaravinde Ghadam Liyatam Chitta Bringaha. So this signs of devotional service has been destroyed over course of time, and it happens all the time. And Krishna himself mentions that in the Bhagavad Gita, how when the science of God is destroyed over time, then he comes and then he explains like how it got lost once it was communicated to the sun god Vivishwan. Same way here, the Bhakti Yoga thing, what has been destroyed over course of time, Kala Nashtam, as Kala is time, over time it has been destroyed. And what has been destroyed? And Bhakti Yogam Nijam Yaha. So the signs of devotional service, that which in a proper lineage, what has been destroyed, and he has come to revive it. Pradushkartam, he has come, and who has come to revive? Krishna Chaitanya Nama, by the name of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what is he reviving? Avirbhutas Tasya Padaravinde. And so this Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he wants to be Ghadam. So he is really very deeply, he wants to be. And where exactly? And merged in the lotus feet of this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what is the analogy that he gives here is Chitta Bringaha. Bringa is a honeybee. Okay, just like a honeybee, it always is merged in a flower. In the same way, he wants his consciousness, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, his consciousness to be in the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kala Nashtam Bhakti Yogam Nijam Yaha Pradushkartam Krishna Chaitanya Nama Avirbhuthastasya Padaravinde Gadam Gadam Liyatham Chitta Vrigaha. So, what I have, the way I have put this presentation is to take each one of these qualities in this particular translation. If you see here, there are different qualities of the sannyasa. This verse is about sannyasa. So there are different things which are mentioned here. And what are those things? If you see here, nisangaha, without material association. Aparigraha, without being dependent, is this another qualification. Ekaha, to be alone. Vivikta Sharana, taking shelter of a solitary place. Who is doing all these things? The sannyasa. And then taking bhiksha. And then mitashana, frugal and eating. So these are all the different qualities. So we'll briefly take these different qualities and then we'll go over them and then we'll have a discussion following that. So the first qualification which is mentioned in this particular verse is chitta vijaye. That means to conquer. Chitta is conscious. In this here, it's translated as mind, and vijaye is conquering. So conquering over the mind. So here is a quiz. I know this is, you can unmute and answer this question. So the question here is, what is the qualification? What is the reason for one's suffering? Okay. So the first choice here is yourself. The second choice or somebody else. Okay. And then the second choice is the demigods. Then the third is the planets and karma. The fourth is time, and fifth is mind and false ego. Which is the choice? Which is the answer here?
All of the above.
All of
Mind
the
and
above.
false ego.
Okay. Anybody else?
Mind and false ego.
Mind and false ego. Okay. Anybody else?
Mind and false ego.
Okay.
Mind and false ego, Prabhuji.
Okay, Mataji. So, okay, it looks like the
Mind and false ego.
Okay, thank you. We'll take that as the that as the answer here. So with this, I'll explain why so many devotees have called this as mind and false ego. I'm sure they've already read all these in the scripture. So this actually comes from the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is popularly also commonly called as Bhikshu Gita. And it is very relevant here because this verse talks about a bhikshu, which is a sannyasa. And here is the thing which is given by a bhikshu. Okay, so it is called Bhikshu Gita. But actually, I'm taking this explanation not directly from the Bhagavatam translations, but it's actually from Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur's elaboration from his purport of this particular song of this Avanti Brahmana. And if we can see, so he's taking each one of these causes, okay, so and then explaining why each of them is not. So everybody is in this world who is in material consciousness is suffering, okay, that much is certain. Otherwise, we are really cheating ourselves. So if we take the first cause here, the first cause is, okay, so we say, ourselves or other people, okay, so my spouse or my family members, my parents, children, neighbors, fellow employees, everybody, they're all causing my unhappiness. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he gives the reasoning here, and he says that there is no soul in this conception. Okay, so it relates to one material body is inflicting suffering on. Okay, is when we're having this conception that one material body is causing suffering to another material body, and therefore the soul is not there in this concept. Okay, in this concept, so it is actually not really causing any unhappiness to the true self, which is the soul, and hence cause one, which is other people causing suffering to us, that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives the explanation that it is being rejected. Cause you is that the devas, okay, they are different controllers of the material universe. Okay, the devas, they are giving the suffering. Okay, they are causing the sufferings, and we can see that in different perspectives they control different aspects of our life. And therefore, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur rejects that. And why? Because the devas, they are interacting with our senses, and the senses are also not part of the soul, and hence it's unrelated to the soul. So devas, okay, are also not inflicting any true unhappiness onto our true self, which is the soul. And hence the second cause is also rejected. And then the third cause, which is taken here, which is the individual soul. Okay, so is our soul is actually unhappy. So we, commonly we say, okay, he's an unhappy soul. So the soul is causing that. Also is rejected here because soul by nature is very happy. Okay, is happy because unhappiness cannot be ascribed to a soul. That is not part of the attribute of a soul. Okay, soul by nature is of bliss, okay, or ananda, and therefore the soul cannot be the cause of unhappiness. And if the soul alone were to exist, okay, unhappiness or happiness becomes irrelevant. Okay, so this is the logic Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur gives, so that to say that the individual soul is not the cause of the suffering. Okay, and then we take the cause 4, which is okay. So we will say that the different planets who are also controlling devas. So here we say that because of the astrological chart, the different planets, they are causing unhappiness. So if we take, for example, but here the logic that is, so what is the logic different people would give is, okay, so we have a debilitated planet. We have a planet which is debilitated, and that is the time that is running in somebody's life, and therefore it is causing unhappiness. And then, or let's say that you have a malefic planet, let's say Mars, and that is in the 8th house, and that has caused wreaked havoc at home. And or maybe Saturn, which is in the 12th house or the 8th house, and it is causing different kinds of problems, and it has caused marital problems, it has caused problems at work, and so on. And this kind of as ascribing the things to the planet, which now Chakravarti Thakur says here, that the planets again affect the body, okay, that is born. Because if you see the horoscope is made for at the time when the body is born, not it's nothing to do with the it's the timing calculation is not for the soul, but when the body is born. But the soul is eternal. Okay, so the soul is not actually afflicted by all these kind of different positions, the planets. It's like what is happening to the body. And therefore, so because we are identifying ourselves with that body that is born at with reference to the ascendant star, okay, the ascendant lagna where one is born in, it is not a true conception of the soul, and therefore this argument is also rejected, that the planets are actually causing unhappiness. Okay, and then the fifth one, my karma is causing unhappiness. This is another common argument that we say whenever there is suffering, whenever there is suffering for us in terms of Adi Devik, okay, in terms of Adi Bautik, okay, Adhyatmic, different kinds of sufferings. And all this is, why is it that we are getting? Because karma, okay, we have bad karma from all the previous lifetimes, and that is the cause of our suffering. Okay, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur here says, neither the soul, okay, the soul is also eternal, okay, neither the soul nor the body, okay, because the body is unconscious, they both both of them cannot experience karma. Okay, the soul cannot experience karma because it is eternal, and the body is not even conscious, they both cannot experience karma. So the karma cannot be the cause of unhappiness. And then the sixth one here is that the movement of time is causing the suffering. Okay, so good times will go, bad times will come, again good times will go, but then the time and the soul, they both are manifestations of the spiritual potency. Okay, so in fact, time is one of the 5 subject matters described in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so it's the way, this is a very nice analogy given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that is the coldness of the snow does not destroy the snowflakes. Okay, just because the snow is the coldness associated with it, it's not going to destroy the snowflakes. So that means that the time is an attribute of the Lord, okay, and is not cause of the suffering, okay? So one might wonder, why is it that all these things we are saying, but we are still constantly, even as devotees, many times we say, okay, because of bad karma, I'm facing all these things, okay, because of the different planets, why we are, so it's even devotees, we commonly, many devotees, we commonly say that these are all cause of the sufferings. That there is a reason for that. That is because the seventh one, which is the mind, okay, which is the predominator of the false ego, okay, the mind, which is the predominator of the false ego, is the cause of the suffering. And why is that? Because the false the mind, okay, is predominating this false ego. What is that? It falsely identifies the true self with the body, and it creates this kind of the material bondage. And so the Bhagavatam says that the real culprit, Vishwanath Chakravarti in this explanation says that the real culprit is the mind, and the co-conspirator is the false ego. So the mind and the false ego together is the actual cause of the suffering, and all the others take effect because of this false ego. Okay, because that the mind has already made sure that the false ego has given the identity of the true self to the body, and therefore all the other six take effect, and therefore cause one becomes true, cause two becomes true, cause three becomes true, 4, 5, 6, all this become true, actually because the mind with the co-conspirator, which is false ego, make them true. Okay, so the true answer of why all 1 through 6 is actually false, but they apparently become true because of this reason. Okay, so the reason why we spoke about this is the first point here, which is to conquer the mind. Okay, so if we conquer the mind, that is a qualification, the first qualification of the sannyasa. So there are some other qualifications that are mentioned in this verse that we will go over now. The second qualification that is mentioned in this verse is called nisanga. Okay, sangha is association. Nisanga is absence of association. Okay, that basically means contaminated without any material association. Okay, so I would caution here that those who are non-Vaishnava sannyasis, they would take all this whole verse can be interpreted in such a way that it has no sense of theism in this theism. So they would take this nisanga as to be alone, without any kind of association, whether devotional or not. So, but however, as the Vaishnavas understand this in the theistic light, in the true light as of the scriptures. And the classic example of this verse that elaborates this is Satyahara, Prayasascha, Prajalpo Niyamagraha, Janasangascha, Laulyam Cha. So all the different qualities, and the one that I'm going to emphasize here is Janasanga. Okay, so the association with those disinterested in Krishna consciousness. So they're not interested. They're not interested in Krishna consciousness, Janasanga. So these are the people to avoid. So a sannyasi needs to avoid these kind of material, those in material consciousness. So Sri Narottama Das Thakur therefore advises us, okay, saying bhakta sane bhasa, so to be association. So it's two things: leaving the association of those who are worldly minded, and at the same time holding on to those who are Krishna conscious. Both have to happen simultaneously for the train to not derail. So association with those engaged in a similar line of business. So Prabhupada, this is taken from the Purport of Nectar of Instruction. And association with those engaged in a similar line of business is very conducive to the advancement in that business. Okay, so Prabhupada says that if we are with like-minded people, we develop in that particular perspective. So consequently, materialistic persons from various associations, if we can see that we go to different scientific societies, we mix with certain kind of clubs, we go to certain kind of associations, and why we do all these things? Because there are like-minded people there who are going to help us advance in our cause. advance our cause. So similarly, we have, and Prabhupada says, we have established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to give people an opportunity to associate with those who have not forgotten Krishna. So this is an association, okay? So eventually we try to associate with those devotees who are in constant touch with the personality of Godhead, which is, so the top picture here is a picture that I took for associating with Janasangha, and the bottom one for is a Bhakta Sangha as an association with. And this, the name of this group itself is called Bhakti Sangha Japa group, right? So it is actually something that is elaborating this second qualification of a renounced person. The third, fourth, fifth, sixth, I will do this together. The third qualification is called aparigraha, without being dependent, ekaha, alone, vivikta sharana, taking shelter of a solitary place, and then taking bhiksha by begging alms. Okay, and mitoshanaha, frugal in eating. So in no particular order, I will cover these things with different examples. The first, again, I would emphasize that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is a great elaborator of what the definition of this, what the purport of this particular verse is. He himself explains how a sannyasi should be. And in fact, this is, if we take this, the first thing, the first quality here, without being dependent, aparigraha. There are two verses in the Bhagavad Gita. In the purport, we can see that it explains the first thing here, without being dependent. Purport of verse Bhagavad Gita 2.15, the difficulties usually arise from having to sever family relationships to give up the connection of wife and children, okay? And verse 16.1 to 3, okay, there is a common purport, no guarantee of support. These are all qualities of a sannyasi that is being described in the Bhagavad Gita by Prabhupada here in the purport. He is simply to depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Again, it's twofold. Okay, so not being dependent on anybody else needs to be simultaneously with depending on Krishna. So depending on Krishna and not depending on anybody else, especially the family members, need to go simultaneously. So that is the essence of this quality which is mentioned here, without being dependent. Let's take the next one here, which is called as Ekaha. Okay, before going to Ekaha, I just want to be, for being not dependent and to go over the next three qualifications, there is this explanation that is given in the purport of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, verse 27, where the four stages of the sannyasa are being described. The sannyasa itself has. So we can always see that in different, even in our material life, like how we progress over. If you take a high school, there is a freshman, there is a sophomore, there is a junior, then there's senior. If one goes to the university, again, there is like a system like that where one becomes, and when goes to the first year, one is again a freshman, then a sophomore, junior, senior. So in this way, it progresses. And then one progresses in the master's degree or a doctoral degree or something. So everywhere there are different milestones that one reaches. And the Vedic system is built in such a way that it gives us the different milestones that needs to be reached to assess our progress in the different ashramas. So usually, even though we are not constantly describing here the different milestones of in our different conversations it's not like we talk about the different milestones of sannyasa all the time, because it is not applicable to a majority of the people who are on the call or whom we are talking to, because most of whom we are speaking with, they are either unmarried as bachelors, or as brahmacharis, or they are grihasthas, or at least they are in the stage of vanaprastha, but we barely are going and speaking with people who are in the sannyasa order on a day-to-day basis, and therefore we don't mention the different stages that are applicable as milestones for those in the renounced order. And then what are these four different milestones? Kutichaka, Bahudaka, Parivrajagacharya, and then Paramahamsa. So Kutichaka, so it says according to the Vedic system, so when one accepts the renounced order, okay, they stay outside the village in a cottage. Okay, so that's basically the definition of this the meaning of this word Kotichaka, and his necessities, especially his food, they are supplied from home. So they haven't completely left. So the system is very nicely built. Okay, it's not like they have just let go. They stay outside the village in a cottage, and then the supplies come from home. So they are being trained here to become a sannyasa who is fixed in their qualities and service. Bahudaka, okay, so Bahudaka is the next stage, and here when a sannyasi advances further, that sannyasi no longer accepts anything from home. Okay, so instead, what they do, they collect their necessities. Okay, so this I'm going to give an example of the Bahudaka in the next slide with an example from a Vaishnava Acharya, and explaining especially his food from many places. Okay, and this is very popularly known in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas as Madhukari, which literally means the profession of the bumblebees. Okay, as the bumblebees, they collect honey from many flowers. Okay, they go a little from one flower. Okay, but they only do to a level that is needed to maintain their body. Same way a sannyasi should beg from door to door, but not accept very much food from any particular house. Okay, they should collect a little bit. So this is the kind of like the bumblebee. Okay, the third one here is called Parivrajacharya. So the sannyasi here is more experienced, and the sannyasi travels all over the world. Okay, and then they preach the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. And the last stage, which is mentioned here, is called Paramahamsa stage. The sannyasi reaches the Paramahamsa stage when they have finished the preaching work and they sit down in one place, and strictly for the sake of advancing spiritual life. Okay, at that time, they are completely in control of the senses, and they're engaged in unalloyed service of the Lord. They're completely in the service of the Lord. So Kutichaka, Bahudaka, Parivrajacharya, Paramahamsa. So we'll take some of these things as an example, and then we'll see what all. Now, the last one which I'm going to deal with here, which I'm going to talk about, is frugal eating. A classic example of in our Vaishnava Acharya here is Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami was a son of a very rich landlord, but but when he was at Jagannath Puri, there are the pastimes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita describe the level of renunciation, and this is not something that we can easily imitate, though, because it's not easy to do. And the way he did for 5 days, the Chaitanya Charitamrita says that Raghunath Das Goswami, he took prasadam at the temple. Initially, he was eating with Mahaprabhu himself, but then he took prasadam from the temple. Later, Raghunath Das Goswami would stand at the Simhadwara at the Jagannath temple and eat whatever he could get by alms. So whenever anybody would give something, he would do that. But then he found that different people, they used to see Raghunath Das Goswami. He was a very exalted person, very rich boy, and therefore they would come straight to Raghunath Das Goswami and give the alms, and then other people were all not getting the food. And so he said, okay, let me not stand here in front of the Simhadwara. Okay, so he would go to the various chatras. Okay, that is the chatras means the different food shelters, and there he would go and take the alms. And again, there was some preferential treatment for him. So then what he would do, he would take some rejected food, that which has been displaced, and that rejected food, he would wash it, he would boil it, and then he would eat it. So this is called as frugal eating. This is one of the qualifications that is mentioned here for sannyasi. And what is the result of this? The Lord himself pays attention to what this sannyasi is doing, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself comes and takes some food by force from Raghunatha Das Goswami, and this is the certificate which is given by the Lord himself for the renunciation of the devotee. So the Lord himself is pleased with this kind of a behavior, and because it is not something which is done artificially, but Raghunath Das Goswami is doing all these things for the pleasure of Krishna in Krishna consciousness. The next one qualification I will take here, if we take a look at these qualifications here. So without being dependent, we spoke about 2 Bhagavad Gita verses here. We spoke about frugal eating. In that, we spoke about Raghunath Das Goswami. And then taking shelter of a solitary place. Okay, so we spoke about the different stages of milestones in the ashram of sannyasa. And then the last 2 I will cover as Ekaha and Diksha. Okay, so if we take Ekaha, there are so many things that we can speak about here in the lives of different devotees, but the one I took here is a nice analogy that is given in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I will speak about this small episode which is mentioned here anyway. Vase bahunam kalaho bhaved varta dvayorapi eka eva vaset tasmat kaumarya eva kankana. So vase, okay, so somebody who is residing and who's, when there are many people living together, what you get? Kalaho, that is quarrel. So Base Bahunam Kalaho. So when we can see this, that when many people live together, it usually results in a quarrel. Okay, people cannot get along with each other because there is one person has different priorities, the other person has different priorities, and then there is always a quarrel. Okay, and Bhaved Varta Dvayorapi. But even if there are 2 people, there is still some kind of a conversation and some quarrel appears. Okay, so the basis of this is actually coming from the story of an unmarried girl, and she is at that time she has some unexpected guests, and these are all prospective people who are going to be who would like to marry the unmarried girl. And she is going into the kitchen to perform some daily activities. So that unmarried girl is husking some rice. And as she's doing it, she has a number of bangles or bracelets in both her arms. And then as she is husking the rice, it's creating a lot of sound, but she doesn't want to give an impression that she is actually doing all the menial work at home. And so she wants to give a show outside that as though she is, it's not that she's doing all the menial work. So she then decides to remove most of her bangles out of her, okay, because, all the bangles are creating a lot of sound. So she removed all her bangles except 2 in each hand. And with 2 in each hand, she's again husking the rice. And then again, even that is creating sound. And therefore, she finally removes in such a way that she has only 1 bangle in one hand, 1 arm alone. And so from two, she went to 1. And then she was able to husk the rice in peace. Vase Bahunam Kalaho. So there are multiple people, there is always quarrel. Even if there is 2, we can see that in a house, when there is just 2 people, just in this modern day and age when large families are everybody's living away from each other. But if there is even just 2 people, a supervisor and 1 subordinate, or 1 the 2 spouses, the husband and wife, or in all these cases, there is always quarrel. When there is always 2 people, because they both have different ideas, different views, different things, and there is always quarrel. And the problem is that there is absence of Krishna consciousness. If they had some common goal, at least something can be done to achieve that common goal. But since in a material world, everybody has different likes and dislikes, there is always quarrel. And eka eva, but if somebody is alone, okay, just like, and what is the analogy? Tasma, therefore, like this young girl, like this Kumariya Kankana means the bracelet, okay, or the bracelet, just like this bangle, the bracelet, all bracelets have been removed except for 1. In the same way, being alone helps in Krishna consciousness. The other thing to understand here is to also, so the best is to live somewhere or the other in contact of a pure devotee of the Lord. So in the contact of a pure devotee of the Lord, being alone also has its own risks, which are mentioned elsewhere. So this thing, being alone, should not be taken by itself. And then we say that, okay, so we will just like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, for his bhajan, he had a hut which was completely covered with he covered himself so there is no disturbance, and then he chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Or like the Goswamis who dug a tunnel and then they went underground in order to do the chanting to be in the fixed consciousness. So these are all not things that we can do easily, but being in the company of devotees is always wonderful for the Vaishnavas. The last one I will talk about here is the begging the alms. And the example I'm going to this, I have only this slide in the next slide, and then we will just open up for discussion. Is Sanatana Goswami. And with this, I will also talk about the beautiful Sri Madana Mohan deity, and because it's closely connected with this Bhiksha, the story of Bhiksha, which we spoke about as Madhukari. And I'm going to talk about in an auspicious way. I thought it'd be nice to end with the pastimes of a deity with a devotee. And the Madan Mohan temple is located in Vrindavan on a hill in a riverbed of Yamuna. Okay, and we're going to talk about Sanatana Goswami as an example for this qualification of the sannyasi here. The original deity was carved 5,000 years ago. He was originally called as Madana Gopala. He was found in by Advaita Acharya and in the Dwadashaditya hill, and later given to one particular Chobe. And this Chobe was having their family had a deep connection with the Madan Mohan deity, and but Sanatana Goswami used to keep going every day. He used to go to somebody's house to accept some basic food to maintain the body, and this is we just saw that it's called Madhukari. And so in this way, he went to Chobe's house. And when he went to Chobe's house, at that time, he saw this deity of Madana Gopal. And from now on, he's going to be called as Madana Mohan. And but there was no rules of worship inside their house, and they were all playing with the deity. The kids were in fact just playing with the deity, just like without holding any of the principles which are given in the Vedic scriptures. And Sanatana Goswami, even though he loved the deity, he was not very happy that the kids were all playing with the deity as though the deity was a toy. And so he was a little upset about it. And then, but every night he used to think about this deity. And for some reason or the other, he used to go stand in front of Chobe's house for food the next day, because in the pretext of seeing Madana Mohan, he used to go and go to their house. And so what happened then was he just told them that, this is not a wonderful thing. The kids should not be playing like this with the deity without following any of the rules which need to be followed for deity worship. And so just take care of this. And then he came back that night. Krishna came in the dream of Sanatana Goswami, and then he said, what are you doing? I was happily playing with all those kids in their house, and you went and then spoiled all these things for me. And you're just creating a sense of seriousness everywhere. And so just let me play with the kids. But at the same time, Krishna also knows the heart of Sanatana Goswami. And then he also came in the dream of this devotee Chobe and told him, that to give away the deity to Sanatana Goswami, and that he will take care of the deity. And then Chobe's wife, okay, so she came outside next day when Sanatana Goswami came to their house. She told Sanatana Goswami, you see that the deities have become very unmanageable and very restive, and they came in their dream, and so they asked them to give away the deity to Sanatana Goswami. And then Sanatana Goswami then was very happy. He started giving offerings to the deity every day. But then, being a mendicant, he didn't have any money or anything. So he used to give some spiceless saltless flour. He used to make that into a roll, okay, and then he used to bake it in an oven, and then he used to give it to the deity of Madan Mohan. And this was going on. And then as this was going on, the deity one day came to Sanatana Goswami in the dream and then said, you see, I'm finding it very difficult to swallow these things that you're feeding me. There is no salt. At least can you put a little salt so that at least it has a little bit taste to it. I have to push them down my throat forcibly. Why can't you just at least put some salt? And then Sanatana Goswami told the deity that, you see, today you're asking for salt. Okay, that's all well and good. Even if I'm able to manage that, tomorrow you will ask for some jaggery. And then the next day you will ask for Raj Bhog. Where will I go for all these things? So just eat whatever I'm giving you. So, the deity, Madan Mohan himself made arrangements to handle the situation because Sanatana Goswami was not doing anything more about it. So at that time, there was a salt merchant and the ship got wrecked by the Yamuna River. And then that salt merchant came and prayed to the Madan Mohan deity that if the ship got if he was able to if the ship was salvaged, then he would go sell in the nearby city and then come back and build a beautiful temple for Madan Mohan. And then the ship immediately he was able to save the ship. And then the salt merchant keeps up his word. He comes back and builds the beautiful Madan Mohan temple, which is the way it is right now by the Yamuna River. And then he also gives bags of salt to the deity. And from then on, Sanatana Goswami includes the salt in the offering. And these are also the same deities which inspired Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to write the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So these are the different qualifications of the sannyasi that are mentioned in this particular verse. And we spoke about some anecdotes and some verses to elaborate each one of these 6 qualities that are mentioned in this verse. With that, I will stop here. And if there are any discussions or any mistakes that I've done, please forgive me and please feel free to elaborate them. I again offer my humble obeisances unto all the devotees here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you so much for this very, very nice, wonderful class. Very nice presentation, Prabhu. We could follow the presentation and nice pictures to make us follow. Thank you, Prabhuji. So there is one hand raised. Preeti Mataji, you can please ask your question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. Hearing you after a very long time. It was a very nice morning treat. Thank you so much for coming on the call. I really enjoyed the presentation, very systematically presented as always, very scholarly and easy to understand. Thank you for that. I did have a question, especially about the analysis that was done by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur from Uddhava Gita about the false ego and the mind being the culprit. But while I was thinking about the mind, I had a few thoughts, and I just wanted to clarify that. When we talk about the mind, we also understand that the mind is a part of the body. So it is, of course, it's the subtle body. It may not be the gross body. And the demigods are that are troubling the body are also troubling the mind in one sense. The effect of the planets or the demigods. It is not just only on the body, it is also on the mind. Similarly, whatever is happening, I think when we talk about identification with the body, we are also identifying with the mind. So my point is, like when we saw all the different causes, all these causes was actually intermingled with mind to a great extent, was my observation. So I don't know, I'm speculating, of course, but then I wanted more clarity. I could understand false ego as the cause, root cause, but I was not able to clearly pull out why mind could be the root cause, because mind anyhow is a part of the body. If we are rejecting the body, if we are rejecting the effect of demigods, if we are rejecting the effect of time, whatever, then mind should also be rejected. That was the thought that I had, and it should be only false ego. So can you just, I know I'm just voicing out what I'm thinking, but I just wanted more insights. Why Vishnu Chakravarti put them together? Thakur put them together.
So, very nice point, Mataji. Let me just go back to that slide. So, if we see here, Mataji, the Bhagavatam verse only talks about false ego. Okay. So, the translation in the Bhagavatam verse is only the false ego. But the mind is only the co-conspirator. Okay, that is not the main cause of all these things, as you rightly pointed out. Like, if I'll also tell you why, just very briefly, like why you are correct, Mataji. Because the reason, like, if you just take the planets, okay, and if you take the moon, okay, the moon planet controls the mind. Okay, so that means that the planets are also controlling the mind. Okay, so you're not wrong about it. Okay, but so the Bhagavatam, if you see the verse, you're very correctly said that it is the false ego which is the conspirator. But the false ego can be the way the progression goes. Okay, so there are two kinds of ladders. Okay, so the intelligent person, okay, the person who is completely who is going in the right path. How does the order work for that person? Okay, the true ego, okay, in turn controls the intelligence, and the intelligence in turn controls the mind. The mind in turn controls the senses, and then the body. So this way you have the ladder. Okay, so this is how it should be. Okay, but then for those in material consciousness, the order is reversed. Okay, the senses are dictating the body what to do, which in turn is dictating the mind how to. So if we see something which is gratifying to the senses, it immediately tells the senses, okay, let's go for it. Okay, so these senses are in turn controlling the mind. The mind is in turn controlling the material intelligence, and then so the material intelligence is acting, not the spiritual intelligence, but the material intelligence is acting, and and that in turn is controlling the false ego. Okay, so that is why Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is putting there that the false ego, the false ego here is being controlled actually by the mind. That is the material mind. Okay, the material mind in turn controls the material intelligence, which is controlling the false ego. But truly, how it should be when there is no suffering, the true ego should actually control the intelligence, which in turn should control the spiritual mind, which will in turn control the spiritual body.
Wow. Wow. I never ever even fathomed this. Very nice. So nicely explained. Yeah. Thank you.
I just heard it from some of my mentors, so I'm just repeating what they told me. So thank you.
Oh, this is excellent. Thank you so much. Very, very insightful. Yeah.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you, Mataji, for that question. Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu, there is, okay. Vinita Gandarki Mataji, you can please ask your question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for such a beautiful class. Very grateful to you. Thank you for bringing up all the qualities of sannyasi and explaining each and everything nicely. And Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Very grateful to you.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Very beautiful slides, Prabhu. It explains very nicely all the things that you're speaking. Even though if I get confused or my mind is going here and there as you are explaining, mind takes us everywhere. So then I come back to your slide and see exactly what you're speaking. Then I can connect. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Very grateful to you.
Thank you.
Hearing from you after a long time is very nice, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Sindhu Rao, Prabhu, you can please ask your question.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for allowing me to ask the question. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. Very beautiful presentation, very beautiful insight into today's class, Prabhu. I just had one question about the same mind and ego. At the sadhaka state, at least I'm in the initial sadhaka state. So we are still not conquering the senses or the mind. So in that case, when we are doing our sadhana, does any of the above factors impact? I'll give you an example. Say somebody is Shani is on the peak, or Sadhisati, what we call. So lethargy automatically sets in, right? The body is controlled by these planets. So will that impact my sadhana? Because I'm still at the sadhaka state.
Very nice question, Mataji. Very nice question. But I'll just for the thing, there is a clarification there. So Saturn being it's irrelevant to your thing. I'll answer your question. Saturn being at peak is not going to cause any suffering. Okay, Saturn can be very can be malefic, or it can also be very nice in anybody's chart. Okay, so it shouldn't be misconstrued that way. And Sadhisati is nothing to do with Saturn and the horoscope. It is the current position, whether it is around the where in your first position of the moon, around that for 7.5 years around it. Okay, if it comes to that. Okay, so that's just one clarification, which is unconnected with this lecture, but just for clarification there. But even if the planets are having malefic effects on the body, okay, or the mind, so the reason why it does not have an effect on okay, I'll put it this way. The name of Krishna entirely comes from the spiritual world. Okay, there is nothing material about Krishna. Since there is nothing material about Krishna, anything material does not touch Krishna. Therefore, like when we chant the name Krishna, even though we are chanting with our material tongue to begin with, eventually the spiritual body takes over, and the spiritual tongue chants the name Krishna. The material tongue cannot even understand what is Krishna, there is no connect, there is matter. Krishna is all spirit. Krishna is all spiritual. He has a spiritual form. He is entirely spiritual. So by matter, the matter needs to get converted to spirit. So when we offer food to Krishna, we are spiritualizing that which is matter. So anything which is, because with our material consciousness, we are cooking something which we are thinking. That is the reason why when we are cooking, we should cook with proper consciousness. Okay, so we should not be turning on some television and watching some mundane stuff, news channel, and then cooking. Okay, because then it will just remain matter. So we need to so it needs to be cooked in a way. So if you want, you can turn on your iPad and listen to some good song, maybe the Gopi Gita or Mahamantra or something, and then you cook. Okay, so at least the consciousness will be okay. So in this way, we anything which is material is not going to affect anything which is spiritual. Okay, but the second part of what you said, Mataji, is like all of us who are in the neophyte stage, so who are as sadhakas, I consider myself as a neophyte. So as we are as a neophyte stage, we need to carefully watch all these different kinds of things will affect us. It can affect the sadhana. Okay, but Krishna is very merciful, and he will protect us to a level that it will not disturb our sadhana. And if it goes to that level, then at that time, we need to pray intensely for Krishna's help. Okay? Because there is a verse in the Bhagavatam that we have no right to do anything on this. People these days, they say, I have right, my rights are getting infringed. I have right for that. I have right for this. But Bhagavatam says that we have no right. There is only one right the Bhagavatam gives us, and that is the right to pray. Even at the time of death, Krishna will not take that right from us, that we always have the right to pray. So if we pray that our sadhana that our progress towards Krishna not be taken away, Krishna will protect that. And therefore, all these things, what you're saying, Mataji, when somebody is in deep suffering, it can affect. It can affect because we are not practicing Shuddha Bhakti. That is why it is affecting. But if we are in touch with some good empathetic devotee, okay, who is able to understand our suffering. It's not like we just go and randomly share our problems with everybody, but then there is an empathetic devotee who's in a very elevated state. They will help us through these difficult times and help us be steady in our consciousness, in Krishna consciousness. Is that okay, Mataji?
Very beautiful. Thank you. Very hope-giving answer, Prabhu, especially the prayer part of it that you said. Yeah, like we read in the Bhagavad Gita also, chapter 9, right? That anything connected to Krishna is Uttama. It transcends all these things, but we are still in material. So it is very beautiful answer. Thank you so much, Prabhu. It's a very hope-giving that prayer is always there and Krishna is always there to help us. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for the nice question. Prabhu, there is one question in the chat I would like to read by Shivakumar Prabhu. That was pronounced. To the different causes listed as not the cause of suffering, how do we understand that soul is not the cause when the very reason for our material existence is said to be turning away from Krishna, which is the decision of the soul, and the false ego mind are just consequences of the decision by Jiva?
So, cause 3 here, okay. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is technically analyzing this by the nature of the soul. Okay, the nature of the soul is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Sat is the soul is eternally existing. Okay, and Chit is the soul is conscious, and Ananda, which is bliss. So that means like you cannot ascribe unhappiness to something which is by default happy. Okay, so that is the logic that by definition the soul cannot be unhappy. Okay, that is what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying. And coming to your logic, the devotee whoever put this thing there, even in that case, it is why is it that the soul is even if the soul, why is it that the soul is turning away from Krishna? It is because of the false ego. Because the false ego is what is not explaining to the soul the true identity of the soul. What is the true identity of the soul? Jivera Swarupa Nitya Krishna Da. So the true identity of the soul is to always be the eternal servant of Krishna. So when one loses that true identity, then it is called as false ego. So the false ego is the reason why one is falling down. So you actually answered the question, whoever put this, Prabhuji or Mataji, whoever put this. So the false ego is the reason why the soul is falling down. And that is, the Bhagavatam verses are all very clear, and that exactly explains what is happening. It is not that the soul is not making the false ego is the reason why the soul is falling down. If one has a true ego, what is the true ego? The true ego is to have the true identity of the soul. The true identity of the soul is to serve Krishna. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this very, very wonderful session and question answer session. There are no more questions or comments. We can end the call here. Your permission, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
Perfection.
kripasindhubhya
Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Shri
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnava
Namo
Vrinda
Namaha.
ki Srila Prabhupada
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
jai.
Radhe
Jai.
Radhe.
Jayananda
Radhe
Gauranga Prabhuji
Gauranga.
ki jai. Thank you,
Jai.
Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Gauranga.
Radhe
Nityananda.
Radhe.